Gentleman's time has expired.
Oh, we were getting to the answer, Chairman. Come on now, give me.
Well, no,
come on, Chairman. We were good.
I'll let her answer, but you can't continue the debate.
Congressman Byron Donalds and his wife Erika Donalds, who's also a school choice leader. Parents, who thinks this is appropriate to talk to kindergartners about sex? This is insane.
Ron DeSantis and the Florida Legislature did the absolute right thing by banning this activity in our schools. When you're a young child, you're there to just learn how to read, learn how to do basic multiplication facts, and learn history, not be indoctrinated about sexual identity and gender fluidity.
But Erika, it's not just about school choice. You know, having a choice between two awful curriculums doesn't really matter, right? It's about choice and curriculum, correct?
Creating victims out of these kids, and it started with CRT, and who, you know, they were victims of whiteness, of privilege, and now with this gender ideology, the schools are making them victims from their own parents and dividing them from their parents, and it's so concerning. Not only do we need school choice to make sure that parents can choose the school academically that is best for their child, but they also need to be able to choose a school that they can trust, not to tell their children that they are actually victims of their parents' family values.
They want their kids to be kids, not exposed to liberal ideology at such young ages. It's simply not acceptable, and that's why what's happening at Disney right now, where now it's all coming out, why Disney's completely gone woke, and you're having parents again who are saying, no, Disney, we're not going to do business with you anymore if this is what your modus operandi is going to be with respect to our kids.
Corporate tax rate under the president's budget, goes up to 28%. Is it the administration's belief that an increase in the corporate tax rate will have no impact on an already inflationary environment with higher prices for consumers?
We don't believe it will change the operations of how corporations make decisions. No, we don't.
But no. The question, Director Young, is does the administration believe that higher corporate income taxes will force an increase in prices in an already inflationary environment that a lot of people actually really believe now is unleashed by the American Rescue Plan from last February?
Mr. Donalds, we do not believe that is the case.
Okay, so the administration doesn't think that higher taxes are going to lead to higher prices on top of an already inflationary environment?
For corporations, are you assuming they pass on their tax rates on
Correct, you're wrong. Corporations always pass on the cost increases. They're doing it with inflationary costs, with the ability to get their products right now, the portions that they need to create their products to sell to consumers. When the cost of freight is up, the cost of wheat is up, the cost of oil is up, that's all being passed through. Yes or no?
Mr. Donalds, I don't believe, and we don't believe as administration, that asking corporations to pay 28%, they used to pay 35% before the last tax cuts, will increase inflationary pressures.
Director Young, does the administration acknowledge the fact that when the corporate tax rate was cut from 35 to 21, that the United States raised more revenue in corporate income taxes than at any other point in American history?
What we saw was a continued use of legal loopholes that prevented, I mentioned this earlier, 50 corporations, the Fortune 500, from paying any taxes.
I'm not talking about the uses of what's already in the tax code. I actually would argue that if we're going to have a fair code, we should adopt a flat tax or a fair tax. I mean, I don't think that's the administration's position. That's my position, if we're going to have a fair code. But to talk about what they use in the current legal structure of the tax code, you can't make that argument and say that, oh, well, they're using these things. I'm talking about did the government raise more revenue from corporate income taxes, yes or no?
And corporations continue to make more. That is the point.
Let's move on, because I know we're not going to get anywhere there. In your budget proposal, the administration is actually saying that they're going to unwind every tax benefit associated with fossil fuels in the United States. Does the administration believe that completely eviscerating all oil and natural gas tax treatments that we've had in our country, frankly, for 30, 40 years, do they believe that that will actually lead to lower prices on oil and natural gas?
We don't believe the tax structure offered will lead to increased gas prices, but you're right, Mr. Donalds, we have to do something to bring down the cost. But I hope you would agree that costs have gone up since the Russian aggression.
Director Young, we have to acknowledge that oil prices have been up far before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine on February 24.
But the
price of a barrel that was already significantly higher than what it's been over the last 4 years in the United States. Do you acknowledge that?
I acknowledge that there were increased energy prices that have further increased since Russian aggression.
Director Young, okay. So we understand that prices are higher now since February 24. We are going to acknowledge for the record that prices have been higher under the president's administration currently. The president has talked about how he wants to get away from fossil fuels. Is the administration's position that essentially eliminating all tax treatment, which makes oil and gas production in the United States far easier, that's actually going to be to the betterment of the United States from an energy perspective going forward in the country?
Mr. Donalds, we think we need a comprehensive approach. I will remind everyone here, our country is one of the three, before Russia took this route, that produce over 10 million barrels a month. This country does not have an oil production problem.
Quick follow-up on that. That's under current tax treatment. I would argue that if the tax treatment on oil and gas companies goes up, we are going to have a production problem. But to that point, one of the main talking points from the administration is that you want an economy that works for everyone. You want a tax system that is fair. Is it fair for the green energy portion of energy in the United States to have significantly more favorable tax treatment than oil and natural gas?
As we know, these are developing systems. We need to ensure that those systems, as many
So
systems
it's okay
in this
for oil and
country
natural
have
gas to be
received-
treated unfairly?
Gentleman's time has expired.
Oh, we were getting to the answer, Chairman. Come on now, give me.
Well, no,
come on, Chairman, we were good.
I'll let her answer, but you can't continue the debate.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Young, please.
And Mr. Yarmouth, thank you. And by the way, many of the subsidies for people who want to buy electric vehicles, this is to help consumers. Many consumers want solar panels. Many consumers want electric vehicles. The government, we believe, the best way to help them achieve that and also a cleaner world is to provide subsidies through our tax system.
Gentleman's time has
Chairman,
expired.